Hi everyone, it's probably time to put up a few more bulbs. I'm pretty sure I haven't shown any of these in the past. If I have, I do apologise. These are all ones which have turned up within the last few months. They've mainly turned up at Wimbledon boot sale. There may be one there, that one that's in the middle and the one at the top probably came elsewhere, but anyhow, don't worry, we'll have a little look at them and see what we think. The first one I can pick up is this tubular. Now, this is not an English bulb, it's actually American, but it turned up over here. It's actually amazing the amount of American bulbs that I've actually picked up here at our local boot sales. How they come in and why they come in, I just don't know. Anyhow, we locate this one. It's on the top there. Why isn't this focusing? There we are, suddenly focused. It's Sylvania 40 watt 120 volt. Well, we'll have a look at that in the catalogue. Now this is actually a GE catalogue, but it doesn't really matter, but it's the same one. Let's say the voltage was 120. So it's 120 volt. It's easy to find. It's what they call an intermediate base. It's a base that is not found in England. We don't use this size base, but it is quite popular in America and possibly Japan as well. But let's see what it says about it. There's the actual diagram itself of the bulb. It's called a T10, which is tubular 10, and in the list down here tubular, it's tubular 8, no, medium, T6.5. Well, they just show it as a T6.5. The nearest one I can get to it is 40 watt. Well, it seems like an odd one. This it's 40 watts. No, they're all 40, those. So I would say it's that intermediate one there. It's an intermediate base. So it's probably that clear refrigerator. So it's obviously one to light the interior of a good old fridge. That's the standard package and the voltage. So it's 120. These are all at 40 watts, as shown at the other top of the page. It's taken from a GE catalogue. That's the one there, and that's dated 1989, so it's a few years old. But as I say, these turn up. Why it turned up in England, an English boot sale, I will never know. It's never been used. The filament is completely new. It's interesting the way they actually do it. It's encapsulated in there. It's completely shockproof. The newer lamps of these are probably totally different. They've probably just got two lead-in wires with a glass stem and a rough U-shaped filament. But these were really well made. Even the support wires, they had to be insulated because it's a metal, well, it's a metal wire going up the top. So there's actually glass insulators. So they are completely insulated. Anyhow, leaving that one. Going on to the Osram catalogue that I've, well, it's not a catalogue, it's the Osram bulb book. Show one here, number 2. which is that one. Now this is an early book, so they're not going to be exactly the same now. And we look at number 2, bus lamp. Now, years gone by, interior of our buses, particularly the old London bus, which was the red one, the red Route Master, they were lit by this type of lamp. Granted, they were pearl or frosted, and this one is clear. Now, we got one of these. Obviously, the modern version of the same lamp. And have you got anything on the top? Maybe to see what's written on the top. As I say, these etches are not always that clear. There was GEC, which is Osram, 12 volt, 48 watt, 70C, that's the coding on it, and you've got another number at the top, looks like LM, made in England, showing the type of filament arrangement. This is a little bit different to the older ones. It's a BC cap, bayonet cap. I have in some of the other comments I put on other people's articles and videos, I mentioned, now this one doesn't show it, but on some of the lamps that have come from the Far East, Japan, Taiwan, this vitrite part is like in rings, sort of concentric rings, but this one isn't. This is, well, being a British made lamp, it isn't, but I have mentioned this and try and explain it. So what I'm trying to explain, it's like concentric circles. I should have actually got a lamp that had it, but anyhow, not to worry, I'm just suddenly thinking of it as I go along. Well, there's that lamp. That's often the lamps that were used in the buses that I can remember, they were pearl, larger glass, and the base was skirted, so it came out a bit on there. Funny enough, I've always wanted one of those lamps, and as a kid I used to look at them and think, no, if I go and take one out I'd be caught, so I never did. Anyhow, that's the bus bulb. Up next we have an old lamp which would have been used in early cars and early motorcycles. It's called the British Pre-Focus. British Pre-Focus. These were mainly 12 volts or 24 volts. The filaments were 48 watt, 48 by 48, or they may have even been 24 by 24. And the reason there's two filaments is that these were used both as a main beam to drive and dipped beam. So if you were driving along, say, a country lane and a car came the other way, you'd flick a switch and it would go onto a dip beam, and this was done by the filament positioning being slightly different, so that would act slightly differently on the main reflector. So you had two filaments in one, and that was how they worked, the main beam and the dip beam. The filaments were connected up to the outer shell and the two connectors, and it was known as a British Pre-Focus. Now, leaving that one, we got the Continental type. This was used in Germany on the Volkswagens and similar cars, and it consisted of, once again, two filaments. You have your main filament and the dipped. The dipped one is within a shield, so that shielded the the unwanted light from the actual lamp itself, but they worked exactly the same. Main beam, dip beam. The dip beam is the one that's within this shield, and I think we can just see it. It is slightly crystalline, so that one's obviously being used a bit. This lamp has been superseded by the other quartz halogen, and this uses the, I think it's a Bosch 3-pin base. Same idea. You've got a common, I don't know which one's the common one, but one of these is the common to either of those to light whichever filament. These I think were rated about 60 watts, something like that. You got your 2 filaments, and the glass is round. In France they had a version which the glass was yellow. They had like yellow lights, but that's been discontinued now. The European laws say that the lights have to be white or clear, and it fitted into a special reflector on these little lugs. Yeah, that's the gem type. They were used over here as well, obviously on imported cars. While we're on vehicle lighting still, we have an old single filament lamp which corresponds to number 22, almost identical, not quite the same but almost. And number 22, there it is, automobile headlight gas filled. Of course in those days they really pushed the subject that they were gas filled. This lamp's gas filled. The name is quite clear on it. Criselco, made in England. Now Criselco was a company which was partly owned by Philips and partly owned by the Osram company, or GEC. And you can see it's 12 volt 60 watt. It's got a code on it as well. Looks like 36 A6A, a number down the bottom. 12 volt 60, and that is just a single filament lamp which would have been used in older cars. A bayonet base, small bayonet cap, a double pole. These you occasionally see. Anyhow, we're left with the last lamp bulb, and that was a little neon which turned up. In fact, several of them turned up. I think these come from the man that had the bulbs from the old pumping station. I was looking through bits and bobs that he had there, and he had a packet. There was about seven or eight of these in packets, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. German Osram, let's have a look and see what's inside. When I opened them up, lo and behold, we had a neon. Mains neon, I'm pretty sure they. I've never even tried these. Never even tried these. See what they show up. Osram, 240 volt, 210 to 230, number 753700, and it shows one of the typical neon arrangements. You've got two discs. There'll be a resistor in the stem. This is a small Edison screw, not a candelabra screw, it's small Edison, as these were European and used over here as well, I should think. Anyhow, it was nice to her to pick those up. And it cost me a lot of money as well. I think I gave about a couple of quid for 8 of them. And funny enough, you see these lamps on eBay and places like that, and the price of neon lamps has just rocketed. Not this particular size, but the beehive ones and that, they can command quite a price. So, you know, they're if you ever see them at boot sales, grab them. Anyhow, that concludes this little group. I thought I'd put them in because I've been talking about other things, and a lot of you have probably wondered where the bulbs have got to. This is the box that the bus bulb came out of. Funny enough, it's got Osram on the box, but the actual lamp itself has got GEC, but it is the same company. It's made in England, and it's one that has the Lucas. No, it doesn't. No, it's the other one that has the Lucas name, but it's vehicle bulb.